Okay, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. So welcome to today's sharing of Harmonize2Energize. My name is Terry Matthews. I've been a JIN SHIN JYUTSU practitioner since about 1991 and a self-help teacher in between. And it's my pleasure to share aspects of JIN SHIN JYUTSU self-help with people once a week on a Friday to help us all harmonize and energize. And if you're brand new to JIN SHIN JYUTSU, JIN SHIN JYUTSU is an art of harmonizing the life energy, or chi or ki as it's sometimes called, as it moves through the body or not, in the sense that we want a smooth flow, we want a harmonic flow, but sometimes our little blockages or large blockages will prevent that from happening. In JIN SHIN JYUTSU, we have a system which includes 26 what we call safety energy locks, which are situated left and right of the spine and in the arms. These safety energy locks are the width of your personal palm of your hand. And by placing our hands, fingers, back of hands, thumbs on these energy locks, we can tweak the way the energy is moving. So it's a very simple technique, but actually it's very subtle too. Simple and subtle. Some people say complicated. I prefer subtle. So today I sent a note out that so you want to keep your New Year's resolutions. Oh, by the way, hope you all had a happy Christmas. Once I get going, I then backtrack. You'll get used to it. Hope you all had a happy, joyful Christmas, by the way, and peaceful. And now we're moving towards the new year, but we're still in that energy field that we discussed last week, which is the movement of the energy into, astrologically speaking, the sign of Capricorn, JIN SHIN JYUTSU speaking, Chinese medicine speaking, the energy field of the umbilicus. And the umbilicus and its preceding flow from the month before, the diaphragm flow, are the facilitators of what we know as the primal fire or main central energy, which is in fact up the back and down the front of the spine. And this is often noted, or at least Mary Burmeister called it, sixth depth. Depths are merely other words for levels of consciousness or dimensions of frequency and vibration of energy. So we're still in the umbilicus era, if you like, and this is facilitating the movement of energy up the back and down the front. And as we move towards the new year, someone's asked me, I've got some tricks to help us manifest what we resolve that we will do, or what we vow that we will do, or whatever we do, New Year's Eve or whatever, or whenever. And maybe, yes, what I have put together really is a synthesis of my approach to combining the three universal harmonizing energy pathways, which for those that are familiar with JIN SHIN JYUTSU a long time will know as the main central, the right and left supervisor, and the mediator flow. It's not like the fatigue flow in the sense that there's obvious energy locks placed from each particular flow, but it combines safety energy locks from them. It's not something that Mary particularly taught that I was aware of, but most of you are familiar, those of you that have been coming frequently, of how I often talk about, we're talking in terms of the breath, when we let go and we receive, that we move from the 4, safety energy lock 4 at the back of our head, the 15 in the groin area, and the big toe, the 7. And these can be understood as parts of all three flows, really, depending on which way you look at it. But we can say, for argument's sake, the supervisor left and right of the body. The main central itself has safety energy locks, which are central. So whereas the supervisor has a 15 left and right, the main central has a central 15, which is the pube. And the mediator, starting on the safety energy lock 3, which by the way also helps to open the 15, crisscrosses the body and goes through the main central at different points, and uses a mudra, which I'm going to incorporate to open up the thoracic cavity to allow that mediation to go more effectively. So when we're thinking about what we'd like to think about for the future, our feelings for the future, what are we really looking for? I would say 99.9% of the time, most people are looking to be happier, I guess. Unless you have misanthropic tendencies and you would rather be miserable. And that's possible. But most people are looking to be more joyful, more fulfilled, more happy. And we can look at that quality in safety energy lock number 15 in the process of filling out laughter, filling our hearts with joy and laughter. And what I'm going to do is, as I once mentioned, Mary taught me, or at least via Pat Meta at the JIN SHIN JYUTSU office where I once worked, that Mary would always open up the body in terms of the energy field, at least in terms of escape routes. She was very keen that we allow the energy to go down the front and up the back. And so she would suggest that we would open up the bridge in the body, which would be the safety energy lock 15 area, which covers 3 major regeneration flows, amongst other, the liver, kidney, and spleen. And she would suggest we would open that up with a 15 and a 6, or a 15 and a 3. But sometimes she would talk about opening up escape routes in the arms. And that would probably be more in terms of mediation. Anyway, so I'm looking at these ideas and synthesizing them together. And I think I put some handouts up on the screen. Let's have a look. Yeah, so this is the general idea that I've talked about, that energy moves from the 4 at the back, which is actually related to the letter D in the alphabet. It's the 4th letter. It goes down through the 15, which relates to the letter O, and down to the G, which relates to safety energy lock 7, and then back up. She would say man's best friend to man's best friend, dog to God. So that's like an overall picture of how we would like our energy to flow head to toe, skin to bone. We want the energy to move down the front completely. One way, another way of looking at this is from heaven to earth, the heavenly dimensions of energy, that above the head, to that touches the earth. Because if we want to manifest something, we have to move completely through the energy field. We can't be half-hearted, if you get my drift. Yes, we're going to look at how the heart really completes that resolution, or at least if it's not in our heart, the resolution will be half-hearted. But we need to bring that energy all the way down so it's grounded. And this is a map that gives you some idea. And it does to a large extent. Often you hear the phrase, the map is not the territory. Well, actually, in many cases, this is the territory. And now we can look at another map. Here is the main central. This is this 6-depth relationship of energy in the body. And there's all these energy locks, and that you see them in the middle of the body. And most people who look at maps of JIN SHIN JYUTSU will see the energy locks either side of the spine. Well, for instance, here in the middle, the center of the sternum, we can relate that to the heart. And that relates to safety energy locks either side, which is safety energy lock 13. So this is a middle 13. And in the same way, just beneath the sternum here, base of sternum, is a middle 14. And then we drop down to the pube to get to the middle 15. So what I'm saying here is, don't square your head about the safety energy locks are just these supervisory, on these supervisory lines. They also manifest through the spine at those central levels too. That's why it's called the main central. And I think I have something else to show. Yes, I do. Before I do, you may remember that I talked about at some point bust line, waistline, and hip line, and looking at the body in the segmentation, the different areas of the body. Let's put a map up of that. Bust line, waistline, hip line. Where are you? Oh, there you are. I don't know why that is still showing. It's interesting. It's covered it. Hopefully you can all see that. And the body has these subdivisions, if you like, of how the energy is focused. And so at the bust line area, we have the 13, the waistline area, we have the 14, at the hip line, we have the 15. And Mary annotated them as you can see on the left and right, heaven to earth, and in the middle, man. Spirit, roots is heaven, mind, or the trunk of the body, is man, and earth is the body or harvest. And, you know, it's interesting, at least to me, that I'm going to use the subdivision of 13, 14, 15, bust line, waistline, and hip line. It's interesting to me that safety energy locks 13, 14, and 15 are all from second depth, which is governed or governs lung and large intestine. And that is the first organ function, set of organ functions that are created by the liver at the order of creation. And in astrology, the lung, followed by the large intestine, are the first two astrological signs. Aries, the ram, the lung, and then Taurus, the bull. So we're looking at here a relationship of how energy first shows itself. And I want to say at this point that if we want to change or transform anything, we need energy. If we don't have energy, then all our plans, our schemes may come to nothing, because we need that support and we need that energy to be strong and to move from the bust line area right down to the hip line. And each of these areas need harmonizing, they need cleaning in order for that to happen. And you can see at the hip line area where safety energy lock 15 sits, we talk about the harvest. Well, the fall or autumn, which we were just in, is governed by lung and large intestine. Again, we're looking at that ability to bring something into fruition, the 15s. What can stop that is issues relating to our mind, safety energy lock 14, and or issues relating to our heart, or heaven, our spirit. The soul actually speaks through the heart, my understanding is, the spirit there through the 13. So we have relationships within the body which need to be more congruently harmonized. And like I said to begin with, Mary would like escape routes so that we can allow that energy to move down. If we don't allow the 15 to be freed up at the beginning, I believe, the 14 and the 13 will reverse. So we got more blockages. So we begin by releasing the third one at the earth level, the body, the harvest. And when most people, let's stop the share, when most people think about the future and their resolutions, they're normally, most people, not all, but they're normally thinking about the harvest. What am I aiming for? What's the picture? What's the vision that I have? So that 15 needs to be open to bring that energy from heaven, the head, all the way down through the safety energy locks to be manifested ultimately at the earth level. Now, you saw in that first picture some other safety energy locks, and you saw on the subdivision safety energy lock 4 at the back of the head, but you didn't see 7. Well, I use a technique which those of you that studied JIN SHIN JYUTSU will be familiar with. Safety energy lock 7 is actually found at the supervisor level relating to the ring finger. And I bring the mediator aspect of energy flow into this particular pattern that I'm going to demonstrate by using the mudra from the mediator, which is the thumb over the ring finger. We've not only connected to safety energy lock 7 through the finger, we've actually opened the thoracic cavity even further, so that not only is energy going down the front and the back, it's also going across zigzag like the mediator. And of course, the supervisor goes through the 15 before it goes to, it breaks off from the main central, goes through the 15 just beneath the umbilicus before it breaks off and forms all the other safety energy locks left and right. Now, I don't want you to get stuck in your head, especially if you knew about this. We're just going to practice it and we're going to see what happens. And how I'm going to do it is based on the relationship between bust line, waistline, hip line, 13, 14, and 15, and then add in the 4 and the mudra so that we capture the 7. Are you all with me so far? All right. So as I said, this is not something I'm aware that Mary taught. She taught aspects of it, but I was playing around with this a while back and synthesized this myself. Not trying to impress you here, just making it clear that this isn't something that I'm aware that Mary Burmeister, the teacher of JIN SHIN JYUTSU in the West, specifically taught. So opening up the 15, I'm going to use the central 15, the pew. And by the way, we're talking here, the pube and the coccyx. This is the last step of the main central, and we're talking about the meeting of the 6th depth, main central, with the 3rd depth. And last week I reminded everybody, even though we're in that 6th depth era of umbilicus and diaphragm, that primal force is preparing to come out in the spring, which is 3rd depth, and that's up the back. And that's precisely how energy moves as it moves through the plants in spring. You know, everything shoots up. So we're bringing in that relationship too, to begin with. And we'll use our 4 times 9 exhalation inhalations. For those of you that are new, Mary Burmeister incorporated her understanding of numerology in JIN SHIN JYUTSU, and number 9 represents end of a cycle, beginning of a new, which is really what New Year could represent too, yes? End of a cycle, beginning of a new. So we're on the right territory here. The map is in fact showing the territory okay. And we're going to go through opening that central 15 with the coccyx to begin with. In Self-Help Book 2, Mary shows a very quick version of this main central, which was the right hand on the head, the left hand on the pube, and then the right hand on the coccyx. Well, we're actually going to start where she ended, and that is opening up the hip line so that the energy can move down the front, get through the hips, and go down to the 7. And the combination with the mudra is going to be that we can hold this mudra as we're doing this, and we can place left hand over the pube like that, with that ring finger, and the right hand, if you choose, you can put it on the top of the head or at the back. All right. That is something to bear in mind when we go to the next step. But basically, first, we're going to use this mudra, place one hand, left hand on the pube and the right hand on the coccyx. And if you think that's uncomfortable, just put two of your fingers on the coccyx and just connect the thumb to the ring finger by the side of it. And if it's too uncomfortable, don't do any of it. But definitely have a go with this mudra at the front. And we're going to exhale and inhale for those 9 breaths, just in this position. And then from there, having released the 15 at that level, we're going to move the right hand to the back of the head to the 4, which is the window that lets in more light, or if you prefer, the top of the head. And then we're going to move the left hand to the 13, which is love thy enemies, safety engine lock number 13, fertility, the heart line, the bust line. Then to the 14, and the central 14 is the base of the sternum. And then back to the 15. All right. And we're energizing up the back and down the front, because at the start, our hand is on the coccyx, moving the energy up the back as well as the front. And then as we go down the front, we end back on the 15. So this is all about allowing us to have both energy from heaven and earth to fulfill those resolutions. And it may or may not be a revolution to you, or at least a revelation. But once those pathways are clear, I wager, humor me on this, I wager that you're more likely to manifest those resolutions that you have. And by the way, it's going to likely manifest, your resolutions are going to more likely manifest if they're positive and harmonious in nature. So anything that tends to be selfish to the extreme or ego-based, where the mind has interfered, the 14th levels have interfered with the 13 and the 15, and it's all about me, 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 me. Don't expect instant gratification. You might get instant karma, because actually, what are we saying here? That I'm more important than everything else? I don't happen to believe that. I happen to believe we're all interconnected. And, you know, when we have talks of Independence Day and this, that, and the other in America, I always think of the word interdependent or interdependence. There is energy that connects us all like threads, just like tinsel on a Christmas tree. Not everyone can see that energy. Clairvoyant people sometimes can. But I assure you, various poets talked about it, Emerson, philosophers, seeing this light that connects everything else. So, as much as possible, when we open our 15s and then move down the main central, opening our heart to move the energy down through our mind, to fill our mind with the wisdom of the heart, and then fill our hearts with joy and laughter, is a universal goal. And this is why these are universal harmonizing energy pathways. The main central, the supervisor, the mediator. They're universal. They're not about just you. Okay? Okay, preaching over. Let us begin. So here we are. We have the mudra. Left hand on the pew. Right hand on the coccyx. Sit up as straight as you can. Drop your shoulders. And we're moving into the smiley zone. So smile if you can. Fill your heart with joy and laughter, the 15th. And for the new people, we're exhaling first. We're letting go. And there's no particular way of breathing in terms of in through the nose, out through the mouth. It's what comes natural to you. But the territory is from the head to the feet. So if you change your lot for the window that lets in more light, all the way down through the 15 to the 7, victory, perfect life, power, whilst we are focused on the pubic coccyx, hip line, safety energy lock, 15. And we're going to do that 9 times. 9 exhalation inhalations. A breath is 1 exhalation inhalation. And when we reach the 9th one, we'll just slip into what I call the neutral zone. And once we've cleared that pathway, whatever idea, plan, thought, vision we want to manifest has a better chance of manifesting. So if you have a resolution, by the way, I want you to drop that into your energy field as we clear the pathways and report back to see what happened. All right, let us begin. Close eyes, stun your cell phone. If your cat or your dog jump on your lap, that's okay. Just be still as you can. Drop those shoulders. Bow your head slightly because it allows more energy to go into the safety engine lock 4. And breathe out. All the way down the spine and left and right legs to the ground beneath. And as you inhale, you receive. You don't take, you receive. So gently receive the breath up the back, from the big toe all the way up through the hip line back to safety energy lock 4. That's 1 breath. 8 more. Here we go. Now, we talked about the lung and large intestine. That is the small breath of life. What we're now doing is moving the big breath of life, or light, using the small breath of life, the breath. And it spirals. And it's in a clockwise direction. Always on the exhale and the inhale. This gives us the energy of positivity. Clockwise spiral relates to positive thinking, positive energy, positive feeling. And for those of you that are new, what we listen for is pulsations between the areas, the safety energy locks, where our hands are placed, just like you would hear on the radial artery. That tells you that blood is flowing, and blood follows energy, so you know the energy is moving. Just relax those shoulders, drop them, almost as if you're in an elevator, dropping them all the way down to your feet. Letting go of what you don't need in order to make space for what you do need at this time. And by the way, don't worry if you don't feel a pulse, or you're not sure if the energy field is opening up where you would like it to. It has its own journey. Your job is to witness and allow. So primal force energy is pumping up the back, the pube and the coccyx. The earth energy coming up the back. Cosmic purified energy. And notice if you're feeling a connection not only with the pube and coccyx, but beyond at the supervisory level, down to the big toe, number 7, safety energy lock. Feel that ground connection. And let those shoulders melt. All those worries and concerns and attitudes melt. Peace that passeth all understanding is exactly that. It's beyond the mind. We stand under. It's the wisdom of a peaceful heart. This is where we can express compassion. And JIN SHIN JYUTSU is an art of compassion. So your metabolic rate is possibly maybe different to mine. So you may have completed your 9th cycle. And when you do, just rest in that energy, in that field of energy, and be the observer. Notice how you feel, where you feel. That whole area of the pube and the coccyx is like a pump. And those of you that have studied yoga may relate this to the movement of the Kundalini energy. And sometimes that's what people express or feel, a buzz there, a vibration, even a blissful feeling as the energy moves up the spine, left and right. So at this point then, we've declared the door is open to manifest from heaven through the hip line. We have cleared safety energy lock 15 to the best of our ability. And now we're going to take our right hand away and we're going to go to that 4 area, the window that lets in more light. And just gently feel or think about what it is, just one thing at this point, that we resolve to do. I don't like to project that far ahead, but people have New Year resolutions. Whatever feels comfortable to you, you might resolve to do something right now. And for me, that's preferable. However, as we're talking about the new year, if you have a New Year resolution, this is the time to feel your way through this, because we're now going to place the left hand on the center of the sternum, the heart area, the forgiveness area between 4 and 13, love thy enemies, fertility. The window is going to let in more light to allow that forgiveness, that openness, that compassion, that percolation of the frequency of love And dependent on how pure that energy field is, will allow you to manifest a very positive resolution. So at this point, if you have one, drop it right here into your heart. It may be to wake up on time so I can go to work. It could be that simple. Whatever it is, just drop it in right here. It may be to get on better with my spouse or my kid or whatever. Drop it in here. And then with our connection with the 4 and the 13, we're going to do another 9 exhalation inhalations. By the way, your mudra is still like this. Thumb over ring finger. And here we go. Breathing out. Letting go of what we don't need. As we're breathing, we're simultaneously charging that resolution or vow, whatever you want to call it, as the energy goes up the back. Because the energy centers are in the back and the front. And in fact, my understanding is our soul talks to us through the back to the front of the heart. And then we manifest by letting the energy move down to earth. So as the energy moves down, cleaning, letting go, moving up, your resolution, if you had one, is being enlivened. You have created more space for it to begin its journey of manifestation. You're allowing the heart energy, which enters deep into the brain, into the mind, into the consciousness, to open all the boundaries. Because that quality of joy and love of the heart doesn't actually have any boundaries. It's a universal force. In the body, it's the organ that supports all the others. The Chinese will say it's the most precious organ. Acupuncturists will not work directly on the heart. It's the keeper of our deepest and our most wonderful secrets. It's our connection to the universality of life. The humanity of life. The Sufis chant Hu, H-U, in their heart. That is the mantra for the heart, Hu, H-U. And in relationship to the meaning of safety energy lock, forgive. Give more light from the force to the situation so you can forget whatever the issue was that you had to face whilst learning the lesson. If you ruminate too much on things, it blocks the heart. And then we cannot manifest the purest vision for our life. So when you come to the ninth exhalation, inhalation, again, just become the observer of your journey. When you have a resolution, by the way, if this is a tip or a trick, I don't know which, you don't need to repeat it more than once. Your consciousness gets it the first time when you've made the energetic connection to the heart. But our minds, which we're coming to next, safety energy lock 14 on the central level, will tend to chew and doubt and wonder. So we're going to move our left hand down to base of the sternum here, which would be the middle 14. And you know, the mind is great when it's analyzing and everything. And the organs related to the mind sustain the body, stomach and spleen, secondary form of energy. But if we churn up too much worry, concern, anxiety about what we're thinking about or what we thought about, we dilute it. So we need to allow the heart to push more light from the 4 through the 14 to start purifying there, to reduce the worries to almost nothing. Here we go. 9 exhalation, inhalations. We want sustenance. We want equilibrium. Don't we? Feel the mind calming. Feel the peace of the heart passing all the understanding as it percolates down the front. Mind have its place, but don't let the mind rule. This is the battle really between the impersonal self and the personal self, from the heart to the mind. And in Chinese medicine, the funny thing is, the heart houses the mind. Should tell you something though, that the heart really is the foundation of them. The pure heart is the foundation of really using the mind well. Often this is the most congested part of the main central, for the reasons already mentioned. Don't worry, just allow the breath to bring in more light, and bit by bit, any dam or logs in that solar plexus area will release. It's a journey. It's your unique journey. And of course, the more often you practice these practices, the more likely it is these dams will break and the energy will get through. By yourself, sometimes you may need to do more than 9 breaths, because this is often, as I say, jammed up. A jammed up frequency field, more jammed than the others. Not always, but mostly. Let the energy flow. It moves through these centers, cleaning and purifying as it returns. Building the new you as it descends. And when you've reached the 9th exhalation, inhalation, just again pause, go into a neutral position, observe. Is that area in your body on the main central clearer? Have you allowed it to stand under the heart, not go above it? You allowed the heart's energy to percolate through the wisdom factor. Remove the woe, replace with wisdom. And the last set of 9, if we've done the job, we will again connect to that 15 and fill our hearts with joy and laughter. So we've gone from the earth energy to the heaven energy, back to earth, and manifestation of, or possible manifestation of, our resolution, or fertilizing that manifestation so that it will more congruently happen in the future. So left hand is on the cube again, central 15, right hand stays here. And we do 9 exhalation inhalations. down the front, up the back. At this point, you may feel an even stronger connection with your feet because we're in the midway. We're in the 15 region where those regeneration flows go through, mediator goes through. If you're still holding that mudra, all power to you. All right. Time has moved on quicker than I imagined. When you reach that final 9, just relax. You can place your hands in that hip line area, 15 like this, palms up. And I sincerely hope that some of you, all of you, found something in that practice that was meaningful for you, and that maybe you will practice in terms of manifesting a resolution, because we can start with that thought here, but if we don't allow it to percolate into our heart, and then the heart smoothly percolate the understanding region of the mind at the 14, it's harder for it to manifest in the 15 level of the hip line, that harvest level, where it becomes the reality that you want. Yona, you can, but sometimes that's holding the, Yona asked, was I holding the mudra, both hands for the complete practice sequence? I was, until I kind of forgot, but you can do either. You can hold one like that as you go down, and the other one can actually be flat. Center of the palm of the hand will connect you with safety energy lock 26, all complete, so no harm done there. But you can do either, Yona. So was that helpful to anyone? It's 12:56. If you got a birthday, you're gonna have to you're gonna have to yell quickly or anything. But I think at this point, I've said all what I planned on saying, if I planned at all. I like to think a little and then hand it to my heart to flow as the moment arises. If this talked to you, if this spoke to you, give it another go and let me know next year. Which reminds me, I hope you have a very peaceful, joyful, and safe new year, wherever you are in the world. We can see that Mother Nature is showing us her strength, and here in the Northern Hemisphere, certainly in America, winter has come quite strongly, and the snowstorms and whatever else. Storms. But after the storm, the calm. Have you ever looked out on, we'll talk about snow here because it's winter, kidney bladder era, and how peaceful it is. And when the wind isn't blowing it all over the place, how it just scatters down like that, softly, gently on the land. And there's this, I don't know about you, but there's this peace I feel in my heart, a silence, a purity, which reminds me of how to keep my thinking more pure, more harmonized. And so take care, all of you. And I will be here next Friday. I've got definitely, as far as I'm aware, one person lined up to share in January the 13th, all going well. So mark that in your diaries for sure. But anyone who has a desire to present, please, drop me a line. I've written the email in the chat, and you can come along one Friday and present your story. It's always interesting. I think people always learn something. So just a reminder of that. Okay, well, I'm going to stop the recording now.